Welcome to the Beyond Barriers podcast. If you're an ambitious woman who wants to dominate your career, then you are in the right place. This podcast is co-hosted by Nikki Barua, digital innovator, serial entrepreneur, author, and speaker, and Monica Marquez, ex-Googler, diversity expert, and senior corporate leader. From inspiring stories to cutting-edge strategies, you'll learn how to develop the skill set, mindset, and tool set to get future-ready fast and accelerate your success. Hi, welcome to the Beyond Barriers Habits and Hacks Show. Do you have a career-related question that you're uncomfortable asking your peers, managers, or mentors? Well, that's exactly what we're here to help you with on the Habits and Hacks Show, where we will address the questions you pose via email or on our social media channels. Whether it's asking for a higher salary or a much-deserved promotion, or addressing a business or personal challenge, oftentimes women find it hard to just ask. Our fear of being perceived as inadequate prevents us from asking, but it causes us to pay a high price in every aspect of our lives, in lost income, slower career progress, limited access to leadership roles, and potential risk to well-being. So learn to ask, and start by asking us.
So here's a question from one of our listeners. Her name is Mariah, and her question is pretty awesome. She asked, what is the one question you wish you had asked earlier? So let's start with you, Monica. What is that question for you?
That's actually a really great question. I think what immediately comes to mind is, and I'll give you some context, it was around my first milestone promotion in the corporate world. And I was up for my first promotion and I didn't get it. And I was devastated. And I remember asking my manager, why? Like, what could I do after first being angry, going home, being upset, and then realizing, okay, this is something that I need to, I'm going to own it. What do I need to do differently? So I went and asked him, and he said, well, let's think about some people that need to get to know you, who will support you in the next go round of just promotion reviews. And so I said, okay. And then in preparing for them, I came up to him and said, okay, I'm about to have my first meeting. What do I ask? Like, how do I prepare? And he said, you just need to ask one question. And I said, okay, what is that? And he said, you need to ask them, how do they define success? What does success mean to them? And in that moment, I was like, epiphany, like my mind was blown. I was like, oh my God, if I were to just ask everybody, what does success mean to you? I would know the definition and I would know how to then position myself successful in their eyes. And so for me, I was like, I wish I'd known that sooner. I wish I would have known how to ask people define success for me.
That's incredible, because so often we're trying to navigate through our careers and through business or through a certain company or industry rather blindly, because we're trying to make assumptions about what success means or success looks like, when the reality is it means something different to different people, and it looks different in different companies.
Yes,
so if you don't know what the definition of success is in that particular organization or for your particular role or skill set, you might be expending a lot of energy trying to do a whole bunch of different things, hoping that one of those works, when instead simply being able to ask that question to say, what's the definition of success here? Or what's the definition of success for this role? Or what does success look like for you as my manager or my leader? Gives you the clarity you need in order to then do the right things in the right places at the right time.
And you hit the nail on the head, because as someone who has worked in many different organizations, I guarantee you that the definition of success was different at every place. And the biggest, I think, drastic one was, success was defined very differently at Goldman Sachs than it was at Google. And so some of my habits of wanting to get things done right away and just, wanting to dive in and just do things at Google was like, hey, let all the flowers bloom, let the ideas, let the creativity come out. And I was used to come on, let's go kind of thing. And I learned that success, I wasn't being successful initially because I was
applying those success principles of one organization into another that had different values and a different perspective of what's important.
And I immediately remembered that question, and I started asking everybody I was managing and working with of, how do you define success? And then realized, okay, I need a shift.
So your big question that you wish you had asked earlier is asking other people and every organization, how do you define success?
Exactly. Now, I'm curious about you. What is your burning? Like, what was the question you wished you would have asked earlier?
So this is really interesting because I feel like I had different experiences in my life and my journey because my question shifted. I spent a large part of my life asking myself the question, what if I die young? And because of that, I led my life a certain way. And I was convinced that I was going to die before the age of 40.
Let me stop you there. Why did you think you were going to die before the age of 40?
Okay, this is really funny, but when I was pretty young, 3 different astrologers or palm readers had read my palms and said that I was going to die young. And somehow I just accepted that as absolute truth. And so I grew up and lived my life believing I was going to die before the age of 40. And so there was this sense of urgency because I wanted my life to matter. I wanted it to count for something, and I didn't want it to be ordinary. And so there was a lot of drive and ambition, but there was also an unrealistic urgency around achievement and wanting to stack up the accomplishments quickly because I was running out of time. In my mind, my timer was going to run out any time. And so I needed to make sure that I was making the most of it. So the focus was so much on that destination that before my time runs out, I gotta, achieve all my career ambitions. I gotta build businesses. I have to make millions. I have to write a book. I have to do this. I have to do that. And there was all this laundry list of things. Now, on one hand, I did accomplish all of those things at a fairly young age because of that. I guess because I was asking myself that question, what if I die young?
Yeah, and the sense of urgency.
And then my 40th birthday came about and I was still alive. And it was this really...
Thank goodness.
And it was really interesting because for the first time, I realized I didn't know what happens next because up until that point, everything was leading up to my 40th birthday. And then suddenly I was faced with a new reality of, gosh, what if I live long?
Right.
What if I, instead of asking myself, what if I die young? What if the question instead were, what if I live long? And I'd never asked myself that before.
Right. Well, because I could see how the sense of urgency that you described and that you lived and you accomplished so much, like, I feel like I almost like you didn't stop and smell the roses.
Yeah, it was just climbing one mountain after another, never pausing, never reflecting. Just it was a lot of angst and urgency.
Right.
And so when I finally found myself posing this new question of what if I live long? What choices would I make? How would I live my life differently? How would my journey be if I were to live long? And what I found was that my previous question led to achievement that came with a lot of angst. This new question of what if I live long actually led to fulfillment and a level of inner stillness because suddenly it gave perspective and the gift of time. Now, I could really focus on what do I want to dedicate decades to? What do I want to master? And take the time. I don't have to master it overnight. I can be patient with myself and with that process. What do I want my legacy to be in a more meaningful way? How do I cope with setbacks and failures and losses? Because with time, it matters less because successes are not the ultimate. After successes will come new failures and bigger successes. And failures are not final either, because this failure will then get replaced with new horizons and new successes. So you get less attached to both the success as well as the failure. And it just gives you perspective. And I think this is something most people can relate to, because if you're, sort of anxious about that next promotion round, and you're thinking, well, I can't afford to screw up this project, or I can't afford for anything to go wrong because I really got to get that promotion. It's because the urgency of time and feeling like you have no time to waste, you can't afford to make that wrong decision. You can't afford to have that minor setback that puts you on this intensity that takes away the gift of learning and the gift of the experience and the journey itself. And so for me, the dramatic shift in that question was incredibly powerful and very liberating, because suddenly it was all part of the journey. It was all in the becoming, that the magic lies, as opposed to the getting somewhere.
Right. So your first question, when you were thinking, I've got to get everything done before 40, was really kind of just looking at
what if I die young?
What if I die young? And you were just looking at the outcomes. What are my outcomes? Opposed to now, your new question is like, what
if I live long?
What if I live long? You were thinking about and embracing the journey.
Right.
And the becoming. I love how you said that, the becoming, and the outcomes will come if you are focused on the journey.
Exactly.
That's fantastic. Well, everyone, share your comments and takeaways on social media that you had on this episode and the questions that Mariah asked. And if you have a burning question, just ask us. No judgment here. This is a safe space for you to get the answers that you need. Visit IamBeyondBarriers.com, where you'll find show notes and links to all the resources in this episode. Thanks for listening. There are thousands of podcasts out there, and we are so grateful that you've chosen to listen to ours. Visit IamBeyondBarriers.com, where you'll find show notes and links to all the resources referenced in this episode. And be sure to take the quiz on the website. Your score will tell you where you are, what helps you gain momentum, and what holds you back. You'll also get a free guide with cutting-edge career strategies. We'd also love to hear from you. Share your comments and topic suggestions on IamBeyondBarriers.com. And we'll be sure to address them in future episodes. If you enjoyed our show today, please subscribe and rate the podcast, or just tell a friend about it. See you next episode. What if you could figure out exactly how to rise up faster in your career? Instead of wasting time on trial and error, imagine being able to pinpoint what's holding you back, where to focus your effort, and how to get results quickly. That's exactly what the Beyond Barriers quiz is designed to do. You'll get your personalized score based on 25 essential elements to accelerate career success in the digital age. And you'll get a free guide with cutting-edge career strategies that'll help you understand how to gain momentum and dominate your career. The Beyond Barriers quiz takes just a few minutes, but it'll save you months of frustration. Go to IamBeyondBarriers.com/quiz and take the quiz today.